Got some Vainglory action at the Mobile Masters Invitational, and in fact, it is our last game between the world reigning champions, ROX Armada, who have won 4 straight games at the Gauntlet. They're going to be against CLOUD9, the Unified Live Championship winners in London, the best team in the West in spring. This is going to be a match to remember.
I mean, this is the match. Like, we all kind of like. We wanted another team to beat ROX, but we also kind of wanted to see the C9 versus ROX matchup. I mean, this is the top of NA versus the top of Korea, so it doesn't get better than this.
It really doesn't, at least not until Worlds later this year, and I cannot wait to see what might be. I mean, if Cloud9 wins this game, it is a huge statement, right? It's a huge statement to the entire world for Vainglory to say, look, last year, East Asia, Korea, you guys were the bomb. You were absolutely on top, but this year, it really could be an actual competition. We could really put up a good fight. And I think, ROX Armada, they're a team that even, regardless of that, you'd be proud to beat because they are just so good. They've got so many good players on their lineup. Druid especially, everyone knows about this guy. What a monster.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like we have seen them lose games in the past, so they are not undefeated in the sense that a single game kind of coming out of the equation is not impossible. But, of course, Cloud9, if they take one game here, it is just a taste, right? It's just what potentially could be for the rest of the year. And I know Cloud9 is hungry for it. These guys have showcased such great play all season long thus far, and heading into summers would be a great way to kick it off.
All right, let's actually have a look at the Amazon Fire Gauntlet format here. You can see every win gets you $3,000, and right now, that's a lot of money in the bank for ROX Armada. They have one more opportunity to lock in $3,000 more against Cloud9 here. Cloud9, of course, can also do the same, though, and I'm sure they're going to be looking to do that, not just for the prize money, but also for the pride, as we were saying before. Cloud9, this is a team, I mean, if we're talking more specifically about them, that have some of the most talented players in the West on their lineup. Purely from like a mechanical standpoint,
yeah.
I think in the same breath that you talk about Druid, you would mention, maybe not exactly the same way, but you'd certainly mention people like Old School. Like,
yeah.
There's no question.
No, I think you can absolutely mention Old School in the same sentence, because when it comes to carries that have the potential to outdo, out-farm, just position, Old School is up there. I mean, he has been a premier carry for a long time, and he finally won his first tournament, like the Unified, and it was a big one. Like, he had to go up against TSM in the semifinals, and they showcased they were the much stronger team. And before, TSM was the only team to even get close to taking down Armada. So this is going to be a spicy final match here. All
right, you can see Cloud9 making their way onto the stage. This is our reigning champion for the West, at the very least. They won our Unified Live Championship in London in style recently. We got a lot of fans here in North America. Even though we're at KCON, it's like the hometown for 2 different teams in this finals.
No, it's very true. We got some fans here at the desk. I've always really been a huge fan of Old School as a player, one of the youngest to really break out in the scene early on to showcase that he has what it takes. Of course, Gabe, once again, every North American team, we kind of talk about this, they have like a player that has in the past, during like a version of VIPL or something, like he's beaten Korea before on their own stage. So once again, does the story transition here to North America? Can he lead I Love Joseph, a premier jungler in Old School, as their carry to a victory?
Yeah, and I Love Joseph, this guy, I'm excited to see him match up against Mango right now, because I Love Joseph is a very aggressive player. He tends to be relentless. Mango, we've seen him be that aggressive guy, but we've also seen, like, for example, in the last game, a much more measured start, at least.
Yeah.
Right, in the third series, sorry. So he can definitely fight on even terms. I would imagine against Mango, it's about where the captains are backing them up. It's very interesting to see how they're going to assign the pressure.
Well, I mean, ROX showcased that, like, if Taka is behind when they play, if Mango's behind on his hero, he knows how to maneuver and rotate to make the deficit just as harmless as possible, right? Most teams would fall under that pressure. The kind of lead we saw Gangstars get in the jungle with Xenotech on that Koshka, that's something that most teams don't recover from. Pretty scary if you're Cloud9.
It is pretty scary, but we had a word with Gabe Vizzle earlier on about fighting ROX Armada. Let's listen in.
This event is pretty important for us. The experience and exposure that we're getting out here to play against the world's best is, it's really good for us. We want to learn from the best. We want to be the best. So to do that, we have to play against ROX Armada.
All right, you heard it from them. They think that ROX Armada is the best right now, and I see why you would, right? But they want to be the best, and you got to take them down to get there. Man, I mean, honestly, you got to start worrying about stamina to a certain extent for ROX, though, right? They've played 4 series already.
Yeah.
That's a lot of games.
I mean, to them, though, this is just the finals at Worlds again, best of 7, right? Like, we just got to win.
They've done this before, it's true.
They have. They've gone this far. 5 games, $15,000, and the pride of just wrecking in North America on their own turf. Like, ROX has a lot to go for with this final win. So, impressive showing so far. If some team's going to take them down, though, Cloud9 is the one to pin it on.
And it's a matter of national pride, too. You got to be honest here. Cloud9, they're representing North America. This is the last chance before Worlds to like show that they've got it.
That's right. I mean, I think they can. I think these guys, they don't get nervous on stage. They have confidence, and we saw what a certain level of confidence could do for you when we watched Gangstars play earlier. They got a nice early lead. So Cloud9, they're the type of team to do that.
You know, this is also a great opportunity for Cloud9 to really, get some practice against a great team heading into the Vainglory 8 summer season, which is coming up actually starting tomorrow. It's going to be very exciting. Make sure you guys tune into that. You can see our North American teams competing in it on twitch.tv/Vainglory. I cannot wait. It's going to be really fun.
I mean, this is a nice little warm-up. Cloud9 will be playing Team Solo mid tomorrow as well. So one way to warm up for them is certainly to play against ROX Armada from Korea. Best scrim you're going to get, boys.
It is definitely going to be a grudge match tomorrow between them, but today they have the pride of an entire nation on their hands. As I said, very, very critical that Cloud9 puts up a good showing here. I'm interested in what they might bring to the table draft-wise, and as we start to ramp up into that, I want to talk to you about what we expect. Because Cloud9, we've seen a lot of strong signature heroes from their lineup, but they are a team kind of like ROX that can play everything. At least that's what I've seen.
Yeah.
They've used their analyst and coach a lot to inform their decisions and enable them to diversify and play a lot of things too. So in this next game, where okay, we've seen certain things from ROX, I think the amount of information Cloud9 has could be really critical. It could be very influential in determining if they can actually win this game.
Yeah, I mean, how they process this information as well could be curious, right? Like, one of the things that was attributed to their success so much at Unified was the fact that their coach, Welmer, and their analyst, Physics, applied a lot of that pressure into the draft, into the picks, but we don't know if they've been prepping the same for this one.
And speaking of draft, we've got it ready. It's ROX Armada versus Cloud9, the final game of the day for Run the Gauntlet here with Vainglory at the Mobile Masters Invitational. Adagio first ban.
What a respect
What happened
ban.
to the Grumpjaw?
I mean, so ROX, like, if Old School has to feel pretty good right now, because honestly, probably the best Adagio in the world in lane, and ROX respects this pick, respects the ability for them to build a composition around it. They saw how Cloud9 just dismantled the TSM with Adagio Rona combos, so they're like, no Adagio for you, and Cloud9 says, all right, we'll ban the Grumpjaw.
Yeah, I mean, they would have probably given it over to ROX otherwise.
I don't even know what that would be like. Mango on Grumpjaw.
I don't think you pick Baron if Grumpjaw is available, to be honest, but you do pick it when it's up.
And Baron does come through, so ROX saying Baron is the key to winning this entire Gauntlet series, and Cloud9 is going to have an answer here. If they go with Vox, once again, Old School signature hero is Vox. Yes, best Adagio, but if there's going to be a thing after that, Vox is certainly the pickup. So a little bit of a trend here in terms of how these teams are coming together. What's going to be interesting now is, what do they feel like is the threat? What is the next ban for each of these teams that really is going to allow them to round out their composition?
Oh, man. I think maybe banning Glaive is best here, unless you're going to pick it. Because I think ROX Armada's Glaive has been really nasty. Like, dealing with that, it just sets Druid up for success.
Yeah, I think you have to respect the Glaive pick for sure. You either get it or ban it away. I think that is highly contestable. I think you also have to be careful about the Koshka.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay, so this is more of a storytelling ban, less of something that's specifically a target, because Koshka being up perhaps is something Cloud9 is okay with. Perhaps they feel like if ROX goes towards a Koshka pick, they can deal with it because ROX can't pick after this ban. So now Cloud9 gets whatever they want.
I think you take Glaive. I mean, I'm staying on the Glaive train here. I really do think that it's something that ROX Armada is just going to be able to utilize very well. If they don't go Glaive, though, Koshka would have been my second choice, actually.
Koshka, I mean, I love Joseph, known for his Koshka play in North America, definitely one of the better Koshka players around. And one of the things that makes him so good at this hero is just he understands rotation and invade potential so well. Like, he plays so cleanly on his rotation and invades that he hardly ever gets caught out of position, and that's something you have to be good at as a Koshka player. But ROX now has to answer. They have to figure out, how do we counter the early game aggression potential from I Love Joseph, and at the same time not let Old School scale into a late game monster.
ROX ARMADA spending their time thinking carefully about the option. The Lance almost makes me think that Glaive won't show up, just because I don't know if they're going to play Lance.
It might be dangerous to let Cloud9 last pick Glaive for a captain, though. So even if you don't prioritize it, giving Cloud9 the Koshka Vox Glaive, that's what you just played, ROX. You just said this was a comp we can win with. You not believe C9 has the potential to do the same.
They just want to do it again with Lance. I mean, that was a hero they really rode to success at Worlds.
It was, but the thing is like, I feel like, well, this is the first time we've seen them play Lance today. So perhaps this compositionally will be comfort for them. Oh, the Taka comes through.
I really missed on that Glaive pick. I don't know, maybe Cloud9 will pick it. But I'm surprised. I think that this is more overtly defensive from ROX. And maybe that's a sign of respect, if anything, against Cloud9. Like, they're saying, all right, we think that the Glaive won't work because you will get onto Druid, versus, you know, Lance can help us stop you from getting onto Druid.
The thing is, though, is they have to be careful, right? So ROX, they've done this type of composition before where they've essentially developed a backline kind of divey distraction for Druid. So they're counting heavily on Druid right now to be able to really lock this in. And it's not, so no Glaive at all. Perhaps one of the more peculiar aspects of this draft doesn't show up anywhere. So a little bit of a change, but I like it, you know? It's nice. It's the last game of the day. We get some stuff. Yeah. So I felt, and Genius playing almost a different captain per every game. He's only repeat Glaive once. That's pretty impressive.
He wants to show that he's
my repertoire. It's quite wide.
What do you think about the Arden pick, though, on the other side?
I think Arden is pretty critical for Koshka to be able to get in and stay in on top of Baron, because they're going to be trying to dive and delete.
That's a good point. And also, the Gauntlet can certainly create a field which Taka has to think about at the very least. Like, maybe you're kitening over a Gauntlet wall or something if you need to get out of it, but it does lock down your X-Retsu for a while.
It certainly does. I mean, I think for Taka, this is just all about get to the back line, distract. Let's let Druid be the god that we know he is. Let's let Druid really take off. And he's going to have to, because Taka is not your late game carry.
No, that's actually a very good point, too. But Taka, I mean, if he goes bursty enough, can kind of supplement Druid in the late game. Like, if you go for a proc build here and you jump in, you X-Retsu, I feel like Druid just cleans up that kill basically with jump jets, like by itself 90% of the time, if he's ahead.
For sure. I mean, and X-Retsu is going to be so critical in just really reducing a lot of that barrier coming out of Vanguards. Like, we have some nice synergy in each composition. There's no clear winner. It's all about how they play, and that's one of the most exciting things coming out of draft.
All right, well, we have the game ready. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for our final game of the Gauntlet here at the Mobile Masters Invitational. It is going to be ROX ARMADA, the reigning world champions of the world, against CLOUD9, the reigning champions of the West.
The West and the world coming together. It's kind of another unified championship style thing we have going on here, but this is going to be an exciting game here, Jackson, as we get into the fold. We'll have to see what strategies they employ. Pretty frequently, we see what's happening with Cloud9. You shove this wave out, you really get the momentum against Baron, so when Koshka finishes clearing, you're able to find a way in. We've seen this before.
He's done this before, and it did not work out.
Some sneaky opportunity here for a steal. Oh, Koshka expecting it for him.
Interesting. I wonder if he saw that earlier and that's why he expected him. He does actually get it too, so Joseph, I mean, really winning out here, and Genius is dead. He's not getting away.
Yep.
Cloud9, they get first blood against ROX.
This is impressive stuff. Joseph playing around a little bit, just saying, I'm just going to dance a little bit.
Cats are known for playing with their food. You know?
This is true. So first blood over to Cloud9. Impressive stuff. The risk doesn't quite pay off for Ingenious. You saw he went out expecting Joseph to hit that minion one more time, but Joseph waiting for it just a little bit, perhaps expecting it, or perhaps just getting ready to charge up those empowered autos. We'll have to see what happens. But Mango is going to get the Elder from this since Koshka went back home. So whenever you lose something somewhere, you definitely want to find something else on the map. It's one of the things that ROX is so good at doing. Even if they accidentally make a mistake or they end up at a disadvantage, they make a play somewhere else on the map.
They do indeed. Cloud9, I mean, that advantage is obviously pretty good for them. They need to capitalize on it, though, right? Like, the fact that Joseph has a little bit more money in his bank right now, maybe he can actually go for some earlier fights and trades against Mango.
Yeah.
That would probably be the direction I go for that, especially based on the fact that he actually has an armor early as well. He's mitigating a lot of damage.
Yeah, so he's going to have a little bit of an experience gain here from that first blood. Obviously, the extra gold in his pocket does not hurt, but maybe a little different is we actually see Cloud9 playing a bit more tempered than Gangstars did earlier with their Koshka pick into ROX. At this point in the game, we had already actually seen Koshka invading, taking away farms, so the difference in experience is just not quite there. You see the solo Elder actually bumping Mango up a little bit in those experience gains here, so a couple things to think about. Cloud9 went back, they bought their items. We saw ROX notice this, they all go back home here too.
All right, well, Joseph's going for the play we were talking about, trying to find some aggression onto Mango. Gabe does have a flare, and he's staying out of vision, so I feel like he's trying to bait Mango into saying, all right, I'm just going to Kaku and not worry about it, and then, oh, suddenly you get flared. But it didn't quite pan out there. Gabe wasn't in range to keep that fight going, so Joseph backed off. Mango, what? He just went down.
Yep. Mango died contesting his middle region there, so this is actually a pretty big bump for Cloud9. They're going to get a full clear. It looks like Joseph took the middle treant as well, so now Joseph at 22 CS over the 15 of Mango. So arguably, Mango didn't start off incredibly strong on the Taka in the earlier game as well, but it's a different type of early game strength. Mango's just trying to get to those utility items. He's trying to get to level 6, so he is going to be a little bit on the back foot in the early game.
He is indeed, but shutting that kill down from Joseph, very nice for Cloud9. It equalized a little bit that experience discrepancy that we were talking about, considering the Elder Treant went away with Mango earlier on. And Joseph, I think, got some camps there, too. He's sitting on 1,500 gold on top of the 6 component items that he has. It's not a bad spot to be in only 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean, Aftershock now completed is going to be a big pickup for Joseph here as well. Level 6 coming online momentarily. So we've got a lot of potential power spikes on the way from Cloud9. We'll have to see how they intend to use it. But, of course, we're 4.5 minutes in almost here. 10.4K to the 8.7 of ROX Armada. Cloud9 with a pretty significant gold lead heading into match 5 today, Jackson. The best and cleanest start from the opposition for ROX we've seen thus far.
Oh, absolutely, and by quite a large margin, honestly. Cloud9 have got a good advantage here in the early game. They're trying to set the tempo a little bit ingenious, going for perhaps a bold move to actually try and stun them up there, nearly falling as a result. Honestly, I don't know if that did as much as he would have liked.
It's one of those things where you just have to stun them because you feel like if you don't, you're going to get chunked out. Well, they're going in on Druid doing damage. We talked about this, right? When you have that level disparity with the captain, as a Koshka, you just focus the captain. You just go in, chunk the captain out, force them back. So now you're in a 3v2. Generally, your carry will remain safer on the top side of the turret. Your captain kind of wants to stay a little bit further forward in order to be able to actually provide that assistance. But we'll have to see. This is the first time we've seen Ingenious on Lance. Lance just gets stronger and stronger as a captain as the game goes on, as he gets those defensives up. Once he maxes his Githian wall, he just has natural tankiness built into his kit. So a lot of the pressure we're seeing right now will fall off in terms of bursts from Cloud9, but they're not wasting their power spike potentials. They're looking for pressure, looking for more.
They are indeed, and I think that's what they should be doing. Cloud9 does not want that Baron to really get online, and at least for the time being, he's not quite there yet. Ingenious missing Impale, though. Look at how much damage he takes whilst rooted up. You see Mango, he's thinking about going in, a little bit too dicey for him. I love the way Gabe Frizzle's been using these Vanguards. He's been doing a great job of using them very proactively, saying, here is a shield that you can have to trade with, right?
Exactly.
Versus like, oh, you're dying, I'm going to save you. So he's been very aggressive with them, and that's what you need to be doing if you want to put the pressure on in the way that Cloud9 are.
Exactly, and we have a lot of this type of pressure simply just because of this Koshka pick. And once again, we have to talk about the fact that if the game isn't looking like this, then you're in trouble. Especially not because Koshka falls off late game, but just simply because her ability to burst and move your team towards objective takedowns is just so much stronger in the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game than it is later. But once again, we see the fact that the fancy footwork, like Joseph actually dodging out the impale. You saw, Ingenious is doing a lot of predictive ability usage. We saw earlier with a reflex and then with an impale expecting Koshka to retreat, but Joseph turning around and going back to the turret, gets some extra damage. Turns out a big net positive for Cloud9 as we get 3v3 in the lane once again.
And they are also winning the war of attrition here. The turret is taking steady,
Ion cannon,
fairly significant damage over time. That's forcing Drew to do things like this. I mean, that's an 85-second cooldown used just to clear a wave.
Arguably, though, the level 6 Ion Cannon damage is just, it's not that high. So better to clear the wave, play safe, than it is to just hold on to it.
All right, we can see Joseph really wants this turret right now. Vanguard buying him time to make that happen. The Impale does not land onto Joseph, so he's going to be able to back away a little bit. Gauntlet goes out, and with both members of Cloud9 on the other side of it, it's hard for ROX to chase. It's really a struggle for them to get anything in return for the turret death. Cloud9 cleanly take the first objective of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually a very clean move from them. We'll have to see if ROX chooses to go for turret damage here or potentially a rotation to gold mine, but Cloud9, great play from them. They put the pressure down, they get the first objective. This is the first time ROX has lost turret number 1 over another team. So really good stuff coming out of C9, and the Gauntlet, a great disengage, so they weren't getting traded upon. Of course, ROX still had Fountain that entire time, so if, for whatever reason, Cloud9 got caught, would have been a really dangerous turnaround objective. I like this. Cloud9, they're playing very calm, collected. 2.5 thousand gold lead right now at 8 minutes into the game. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's actually starting to get to a point where it really feels like it matters. Early on, like a 500 gold lead is what you get after a kill and some camp steals, and you don't feel like that's a huge deal. It's the experience that matters. Later on in the game, something like this, which is now, you know, approaching even 3,000 gold, really does make a difference, because that's, you know, almost a full item across your team.
Well, it's also forcing ROX to play super defensively as well. Like earlier today, we actually saw Druid complete a 3rd offensive item by 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Definitely a different pacing for this game. He's still doing well for himself. His farm is still very healthy. But once again, this is more of the traditional type of Baron we're used to seeing, where you don't quite take off as early as Druid has before, but that's still that lingering thing, right? Where you know Baron just continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger. You got to keep that in the back of your mind.
What do you think about the build that he's been going, by the way? Sarblade into Tension Bow rather than Sarblade into Breaking Point, which used to be the norm.
I think it's important simply just because right now what people look to do on Baron is just burst because of the changes to his jump jets, giving you 2 simultaneous attacks back to back. So the Pierce coming from Tension Bow is notable at 12%. So when you actually get those double shots off right away, you do as much damage as max as you can, right? Breaking Point's all about ramping up, not initial damage. I don't think he feels like he's going to be able to get a lot of stutter step in time, auto attack time against this box Koshka.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Druid doing a decent amount of work here, though, with his farm, still saying over 10 a minute. Yeah, that's what you expect from Druid. I don't think I've ever seen him not accomplish that kind of a figure. But certainly, Cloud9 pressuring them quite hard. ROX, this is an important game, too. They do not want to lose to any North American teams this tournament. They just got acquired, as we mentioned before. I'm sure they want to show up for ROX as an organization after their acquisition in their first tournament under that banner. Cloud9, on the other hand, they got to keep their emotions in check, because this is the point in the game where, like, I, as not a good professional player, would probably start to panic a little bit and be like, oh my god, we're going to do this.
We're looking at a potential takedown of the #1 team in the world. I mean, they just took a 300 gold payout a few minutes ago, so
that was a nice impale, but it's gonna cost Ingenious. And actually, Joseph wants more. He thought about going in. Fountain just barely keeping him alive. He's still alive. Oh no, the turret! Oh no, it tracked him all the way. Old school. He's not gonna be able to jump in and get Mango either. That ends up being a 1-for-1, but that maybe should not have been a 1-for-1 there.
Yeah, it was so close, Jackson. These guys really just diving, pushing it all the way to the edge. A little bit questionable there from Ingenious. He looks like he went in, but his team wasn't quite on the same page, not expecting that level of burst. He doesn't really have much shield, and Koshka being level 9 chunks him out still really heavily. So once again, ROX has to look at this as they are the scaling composition at this point. They are no longer the take you down in 11 to 13 minute team comp. We are not at that stage. Druid just now reaching enough gold to buy his Tyrant's monocle, so a big damage spike for him coming up in the next team fight. But that kill was actually really important for ROX. It went over to Mango, who was struggling a little bit in the early game, so that's a nice bit. And it also, from Koshka, 3 kills, maximum amount of potential payout you could have received.
Yeah, I definitely think ROX did get the best case that could have happened there. I think if Cloud9 had not extended a little bit too far, things would really start slipping out of grasp for ROX, at least in the early mid-game transition here. But now C9 moving up, going for maybe another siege. ROX Armada, they got to be careful about these engages. And Genius may be showing perhaps some of his comparably inexperience because of the fact that he keeps going for these picks and they're not really working against Cloud9.
Yeah, they're not. And I think this is just something where, Ingenious going into the jungle a little bit there, going to get chunked out once again. So has to be careful on this Lance when perhaps ROX just doesn't actually play from behind all that often. You know, it's one of these things where they're constantly at the top, but Cloud9 wanting to keep this pressure up, waiting for the jungle to spawn, waiting for the lane to push. This
is another reason why I really like the Koshka Arden combination, is you have to force the Crucible as well as everyone having their own reflex blocks. So on the side of ROX, they have a little bit less damage than maybe they'd like, for example, on Mango.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing more chunk coming out here as they go in. Probably not going to get a full-on team fight. Joseph does take quite a bit of damage, but we kind of see that maybe the issue Cloud9 has with this lead is they don't really have a siege composition, right? If they want to take the objective, they either have to get a pick or they're going to have to all-in commit with Gauntlet, Yummy Cat. Like, they have to go all or nothing. So because they don't really have poke, ROX is still getting a lot of time to farm and farm and farm, and this is dangerous because Druid is now on 1,800 gold, just bought another Lucky Strike. So Cloud9 still taking low-hanging fruit. They're going to get this gold mine payout here pretty cleanly, so I like what they're doing, trying to find the opportunities wherever they're at.
If Druid just bought that Lucky Strike, he has a crit stored up too, so we might see him play around that, going for some burst on Old School.
Yeah, he's got an infusion right now as well. Looking at this point, ROX knows that Cloud9 is going to be ready to dive. Like, once a couple of items come online, we have the BM, we have the infusion in the pocket for Joseph here. Old School's infusion's about to fall, but likely will repurchase. So in the next minute or so, we're probably going to be looking at a potential dive under this second turret. It's already half health, so any consistent damage that even pushes ROX back gives them the objective. They don't actually have to get kills. They just have to find damage onto one person on the Armada team in order to get the position on this objective.
Ingenious just picked up a light armor and has the War Treads finished now, so that's actually pretty big, I think. He's been dying too quickly in the last fights, and with the additional health from the War Treads and the additional mitigation from the armor on light armor, that's going to be massive against Old School, who's been bursting him down quite quickly.
Yeah, I do think so as well. So once again, we just talk about this ROX. This is a scaling comp now, scaling. So Cloud9, they want to be able to do as much as they can in this early game. Ion Cannon being used once again to clear the minion wave.
Well, here goes Gabe Vizzle. He's trying to set up this play for his team. Silence coming out, does actually land onto Druid. He's just going to be using that jump jets on the spot, trying to get some more attacks down. Overall, I mean, considering that was under a turret, the trade was even. Cloud9 is definitely getting the edge in a lot of these fights. Fountain even used on Ingenious. The Kraken has awakened, but meanwhile, we got this fight going on. Druid does get some nice splash damage onto the team there. Whoa, Old School nearly lands that bounce to kill Mango. Turret could go down on the next wave, but I think just rotating back, maybe taking vision in the jungle, yeah, safe up there.
There's just not enough up for C9. Nobody feels really comfortable fighting without their Fountain now. Because of the splash damage that's coming out of Baron, if you fight without Fountain, it's very dangerous. Because people can just get picked off by accident. You could be going for one target, you run too close, take the splash damage, end up dead without even realizing it. But you saw what Cloud9's attempt there was under the turret. Gabe went in with Blood for Blood, got a triple Atlas off. They looked to do damage to the turret, just weren't quite able to find a kill to stick to that target. Druid now completing his Tornado Trigger. He is at the 4-item level 12 Baron that Cloud9 is now having to be concerned about.
What do you think about Old School going Metal Jacket and Aegis here? That is a lot of defense.
He has to, or else he just dies. Like, at this point, Old School's win condition for the late game is just to stay alive and just do more damage with Breaking Point. Stack, 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 stack.
Here we go. It's going to be the Silence. Lands onto the front line. The turret falls as well. You can see that's all Cloud9 wanted. They just invested a little bit into it and managed to make it happen, but Old School gets burst down very low. Joseph tries to dive onto the back line, but he's actually followed by Mango. That buys Old School some time to maybe ramp up a little bit more. He's on the 9 breaking point stacks now. If he can manage to kite on backwards just a little bit more, this is going to turn badly for ROX, and he does manage to get that first kill onto Ingenious. Druid waiting in the wings, though.
I don't know if you can do this.
Druid's thinking about going in. He's got that perfect reset, but Old School,
nice.
Good thing he had that metal jacket.
Yeah, metal jacket and the boot active available. A little bit of miscommunication there, perhaps from ROX Armada, something pretty rare for us to see, but we actually had more of like a 2v2 chase while Druid was getting the Treant. Just a little bit of timid play. Shiversteel coming online for Gabe Vizzle, really going to lock down Mango once he dives to the back line. That's a pretty important pickup, perhaps undervalued many times against this kind of slippery composition. But I would say that ROX Armada right now, some of their weakest part of their team fight is just Ingenious not looking as strong on this Lance as he has earlier on other picks. So maybe that was Willie's pocket pick, his go-to, but ROX having a tough time playing around this hero right now.
I feel like Mango is not having the same impact either. He's not consistently able to stick on Old School for pressure, and part of that is Old School's defensive itemization, but also part of that is, like, you know, we talked about Taka falling off a little bit later on. I think he needs to focus on, at this point, just being there mostly for Mortal Wounds utility and trying to target whoever Druid wants to burst so they can't sustain back up if it's like Old School with a poison shiv.
Yeah.
Or even Gabe Vizzle with his perk. But right
needs
now,
to be careful right now. He's giving stacks to Old School. He's only level 10, very under-leveled at this moment.
Old School might drop those stacks, though. Yeah, he just dropped them. Joseph does get knocked into the wall, silenced up a little bit as Druid on the backline is dived upon. He's got to be careful about walking that gauntlet. He just turns around, though. Druid, he might be able to set this kill up onto Gabe Vizzle. He's looking for it. Old School thinking about going back in, though. He's got a lot of damage right now. 10 breaking point stacks. If he keeps on going in, he might be able to find
Double impale.
Ingenious. He finds the crowd control. Old School, he wants to turn. He's not going to be able to, though. The Sentry doing some serious work. Gabe Vizzle lives with 1 hit left. Wow, that was close. ROX, I mean, 1 more attack from anyone would have killed Gabe. 2 more would have killed Old School.
Oh my goodness.
So close.
That was such a close team fight, and perhaps a bit of decision misplay from ROX. Just they're not fully infused, and Cloud9 is. Like, you can't keep taking a fight at a disadvantage like that. You need to get infusions on all your players. Ingenious actually coming up huge in that team fight. He got a Githian wall stun on Joseph right before Joseph would have killed Druid, allowed Druid to turn around, get the damage down. He also gets another Githian wall at the end, double impale. So Ingenious really stepping up there, but once again, the impact from Mango on this Taka, just not really feeling it quite yet, not being able to find the target. Metal Jacket, Atlas, double Atlas, like Cloud9's composition is built to shut down a Baron right now.
And it's working very well. But Druid, I mean, you got to give him so much props. The mechanical plays this guy makes, even in bad situations, are amazing. He just stood his ground, didn't even have a moment where he like turned and wasted auto attack time to avoid that gauntlet. He just knew exactly what he needed to do. Genius tries to go in here, even thinking about unleashing the Kraken with the steal. Does not do it. Nice job with the reflex block. That's actually a lot of ultimates burned from Cloud9. We could have a fight here. Druid is on the back line doing so much work right now, but he needs to be very careful because Old School is ramping up on the other side. This fight looks like Druid could do some work in the short term, but later on, he would have had to go against Old School with like full stacks on breaking point.
Yeah, I mean, this build coming out of Vox right now is simply just that. He stacks, he dodges, he dives around the front line of Lance and Taka, gets a lot of stacks, and looks to transition that power back to the back line for Baron. But with this Kraken push, this is going to be a choke point turret for sure. We'll have to see if Cloud9 can get more, but ROX Armada continuing to be on the back foot, not getting any team fight that they really want.
Fuji, we could be watching, you know, some serious history being made here as Cloud9 are doing fantastically against ROX Armada right now. Yes, ROX could come back. They've certainly got a composition with that Baron that can do well in the later stages of the game, but Kraken's still over half health after that first turret.
Yeah, with no gauntlet available for Gabe Vizzle, not going to go in for more, just using the Kraken to get the guaranteed choke point turret down. Once again, we talked a little bit about this. Cloud9 don't have the greatest siege composition, but One team fight win for ROX Armada is going to probably mean 2 to 3 turrets being taken down. That's a lot of gold on the map we're still looking at.
Druid like 3 shots turrets at this point. I like the Slumbering Husk pickup on Joseph, actually. If he jumps in and Druid tries to turn around and burst with the Tension Bro and crits, a lot of that damage is going to be just totally mitigated.
Yeah, I mean, this is just actually gets tougher and tougher at this point, simply just because now we're getting full item completions across the board from the carries. And yes, Druid, he's going to do a lot of damage, but because he has the Tornado trigger, if the team fight lasts too long, Vox will outscale his damage. And Mango, he just doesn't have the potential to really kill anybody right now on the side of Cloud9. Like, he's more of that utility Taka, get the Mortal Wound out, get the Atlas down, but in the last team fight, Gabe Vizzle blocked the Atlas with his Crucible, so at that point, the entire team is able to just take down whoever they want, so really need to make sure the Atlas lands. They have 2 of them. They just need to land 1 to get some good damage off.
They also need to, I think, stick together a little bit better. We've seen a couple of fights where the action really moves in a lot of different ways, and ROX can't focus someone down who's maybe trying to dive. It's going to be harder now with that Slumbering Husk on Joseph, but I think that's what you got to do. You got to work together to kill someone.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And we're kind of seeing perhaps what you talked about before is, you know, do you have the momentum? Do you have the tempo to keep going? 5th game in a row for ROX right now as they go up against Cloud9. So Cloud9 actually doing a little bit what ROX was doing earlier, forcing this team fight towards their base here.
This is a very aggressive forcing move. Old School does want to turn this around. The Gauntlet splitting people up a little bit. Druid is on the wrong side of that one to keep the damage down, but he is very safe. And as a result, Joseph takes a lot of damage there. Old School, he's got 11 break point stacks. He wants to go in. The bounces could do some serious work.
Druid going in for Druid.
I don't know if he's got this. The Vanguard did so much work there. Mango, he's going to go down. What's going on? Cloud9, they take down ROX Armada in that fight. There's 50 seconds left on the clock. They might just end it right here, right now. Cloud9 upset the former world champions.
This is such an incredible display of excellence from Cloud9 coming in and taking down Armada. Just not enough steam, Jackson. They didn't have enough to make it all the way through the gauntlet, but we said if a team was going to be able to do it, Cloud9 was that team.
Wow, I cannot believe just how strong they looked, though. It was a convincing win, not a particularly close one at times. So Cloud9, they've got to be feeling absolutely over the moon with that performance. Honestly, ROX Armada, they still had 4 games that they beat, you know, top American teams. They still performed very, very well. And Ingenious for his first live event, you know, really did, I think, show a strong performance too. But Cloud9, the big storyline here is definitely that a North American team just took down not only ROX Armada, but also, you know, a former world champion.
That's true. I mean, yes, in a best-of-1 format, if you take it, you take it, you hold it, and you say, this is like our victory, and it's just a taste of what's to come. But I know ROX is going to be hungry because they have a spot at Worlds, and so do C9. So later this year, it won't just be 1 game you've got to win against this team. It will be many more. But Cloud9 coming out super strong on top. Very impressive play. After 4 games of watching ROX, seems like they had a little bit of time to figure out what to do.
I think that was one of the best performances I've seen individually from them too. Like, honestly, Old School's Vox that game was amazing. He was perfectly positioned in so many fights. The gauntlets from Gabe Vizzle were insane. Joseph really set the tempo and allowed his team to get to that point. It was cohesively, you know, a strong performance from Cloud9.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a mistake perhaps from ROX would have just been playing the more kind of scaling composition, right? Like, we get to this point where all day long we've seen teams kind of fall to Baron early, but as soon as you get to this, we need to go to the late game, that's dangerous against Old School. Old School is a late game player. That's what he wants. He's like, you farm on your side of the map, Druid, I'll farm on mine, we'll meet later, and we're going to take it down.
And it's interesting as well because Cloud9, you know, they did not start the spring season in the same place that they ended it. They are actually struggling a little bit. And I think the fact that back then, when they were really scary was late game, showed up a little bit today because they were able to actually push to that point, somewhat because of the pick and ban phase that, you know, ROX went for.
Yeah, I think ROX perhaps just underestimated their potential to have such an early game lead from Cloud9, but also be able to hold on to it, right? They constantly get objective, get gold mine, get an next objective, get the sentry, go for gold mine. Like, they're just systematically breaking them down. But even with that kind of deficit, ROX still had some pretty close team fights there towards the end, so almost took them down.
Man, CLOUD9, I'm very, very impressed. I think they are probably going to be going into the summer season with a real boost as well, and that can't be discounted. We are starting the Vainglory 8, the main competitive league for the Western Vainglory tomorrow, and CLOUD9 fights TSM. It's a huge grudge match. They just beat ROX Armada. They're going to be feeling pretty good going into that series.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming off of this feeling pretty elated, right? Like, you just got back, you're coming in, you're looking to execute, and you show up at the Mobile Masters, and you do just that. Of course, great games played today. Just such a good time watching these teams clash. It's not often we get to see North America run into Korea, so it's always the most hyped, I think.
All right, so really impressive stuff overall. I think, ROX Armada should not feel bad about anything that happened here, though. I mean, they still took down 4 teams, as we said. They also, showed up and actually had quite a deep run in a tournament that had a lot of talent overall anyway. Like there's these roster swaps on the side of ROX, makes it tougher, especially when you show up at a live event for your first time as Ingenious. I think he made a statement. It's impressive. I
mean, they also did it without revealing that much as well, right? Like, we see the team kind of come into the tournament. They just continue to show, we're just going to prioritize this every game until a North American team figures out how to beat us. So, maybe a little bit of a reverse mind game here. We're just going to say, this is one comp we do really well. We'll switch our captain around a few times. We'll see which one of you guys can take us down. But a lot of tricks still up their sleeve, I'm sure, for future seasons.
All right, well, that was a big upset, but congratulations to CLOUD9. We actually have Maria on stage with our champions for an interview.
Okay, Bizzle, you guys stopped ROX Armada from successfully running the gauntlet. What do you think was the one thing that you guys did as a team in order to beat the favorites here today?
I would definitely say that our communication was really on point that game. I think that Old School played like a god. Like, he carried us the whole game. A lot of momentum coming into this match, and the motivation just like to be the best is definitely there. So we wanted to, take home the trophy for NA, and that's what we did.
Would you guys say that you guys had an advantage going last? And as far as ROX Armada goes, them having to play 4 matches before you, maybe they were a little bit worn out by that point.
Yeah, I definitely think that it goes both ways. Since they started off and played against all the NA teams, they fatigued a little bit. And the thing with us is that we haven't played a single game coming into the tournament from like just on the stage. And it could be like jittery and like we're not sure if we're ready, but proved out that we were able to come out with a win. I was really proud of these guys.
All right, well, congratulations for taking down ROX Armada. You guys played an amazing game.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Maria, and congratulations again to CLOUD9, our champions. Absolutely incredible stuff, as I said. During the Vainglory 8, I'm excited to see how they perform. If they were to go into tomorrow and lose to TSM, then I'd be like, okay, so what is the world order right now? What's going on?
It's all over the place. We need another Worlds to figure it out.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting for sure. And CLOUD9, I think they've definitely taken some lessons away from here, but you got to remember this is on 2.5. We were on 2.5 for, I think, one more weekend of Vainglory 8, and then we're on 2.6. So there's going to be some inertia after this anyway. Things are going to change. They may have mastered this update, but there's plenty more to come.
Yeah, definitely. It was actually pretty cool to the update kind of went back even earlier. We saw a lot of like Batiste and different things being tried out closer to 2.6, but we got a lot of old school picks, a lot of things that people were comfortable on, picks we wanted to see players on.
All right, you can see CLOUD9 here with their trophy for the event, lifting up the Mobile Masters Invitational 2017 trophy. Feeling good after that win for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look at these guys. They should feel good. I mean, this is also Old School's second tournament victory now. So coming out of Unified, feeling good about that. Coming into this, I Love Joseph, they're holding it up. Great Koshka plays throughout the game. And, of course, Gabe Vizzle never missing a Crucible captain there. So these guys looking good.
Yeah, it's a nice one to take home, too. It's a very pretty trophy. I
like that trophy. Yeah, it's good.
All right, so CLOUD9, this was a big statement from them. As I said earlier on, we've got a lot more to see from them over the entirety of the summer season. But I believe we're pretty close to wrapping things up here at the Mobile Masters Invitational.